All right, YouTube, it's being rumored that Trump has dropped his plans of appointing a special prosecutor to look into the Clinton Foundation slash Clinton email cases, uh, of course, exacting the ire of some of his hardened supporters. I would say it is a bit disappointing, actually. It's fairly obvious that you have a botched ongoing system that hasn't actually looked deeply enough into what happened. Clinton did break the law. The FBI said as much, Clapper said as much on stage in front of the whole population, and simply neglected to recommend charges on the token that she didn't mean to break the law. She had no malicious intent. Now, for any other individual, they'd be in a cell by now, obviously. It would have been a cut and dry case of the mishandling of classified information. That being said, there are two things at play here. First is that Trump may be making this decision out of pragmatism. You have a hyperpolarized country right now in which you still have ongoing protests against the very fact that he's been elected. He's the president-elect. As such, he may have decided now is not the time. It would just inflame things further, and therefore didn't want to risk going after Hillary Clinton, pissing off half the country in the process, or actually more of like a third of the country, the third of people that voted for Clinton, because that wouldn't be politically expedient. It would cause things to be a problem. I think, by the way, you saw the groundwork for such a decision being laid before the election was actually over. You saw it mentioned on Fox News. With Charles Krauthammer, of course, talking about Nixon being pardoned by Ford. Now, I oppose this concept. I oppose the concept that somebody who may have done something wrong should not face sweet justice for it, simply because they happen to be involved with politics. I think it's a bad precedent to send. I think that it sends the wrong message to the American people. It makes them think that their politicians are above the law, and unfortunately, in many cases, they're right for thinking that. I think Clinton should be thoroughly investigated for this. It's obvious that a thorough investigation was not actually conducted. The DOJ leaned on the FBI not to conduct a thorough investigation. It's fairly clear at this point that that is what happened. That being said, there's also another possibility, even though it's more remote than simple political pragmatism. The other possibility is that Trump, who is now the president-elect, he's privy to inside information about the goings-ons in these various bureaus, including the FBI. He could have gotten word that indeed the investigation is not entirely closed, either on the email end or the ongoing investigation into the Clinton Foundation's problems. It may be that he thus doesn't need to appoint a special prosecutor because there are already people performing a competent investigation into other possible Clintonian wrongdoing. Now, there's an easy solution to what is happening here. There's an easy way out for Trump. He doesn't need to go after criminal charges for Hillary Clinton on the email server, even though it would certainly make his hardcore fans would love it. His softer fans, myself included, would say at the very least justice is being done. But there is a way out for Trump, wherein he doesn't exact the ire of the independent and Clintonian voters, and he doesn't raise the ire of his own hardened support either, which is the risk that he runs if he does nothing. The way out is to lean on the Clinton Foundation prosecution as a distraction from the email scandal, which is the criminal element. The way out is to encourage charges to be filed on that end. Fiscally, allow the Clintons to appoint 2 or 3 fall people to actually take most of the blame, trot her out on stage to give a heartfelt apology, fine the Clinton Foundation, shutter it, prevent it from operating or cripple its operational capabilities, although apparently donations to the CF are down 90% anyway, so it's kind of a dying fixture of a former political empire. It's really a money siphon for the Clintons. Let's not make any mistake about it. There was criminal action and intent involved in both of these cases. We all know that. Even many of Clinton's fans, if they were being honest with themselves in a moment of lucidity, would understand that that's what went on. There was political wrangling going on. There was all sorts of legal malfeasance going on. We know that the Clinton Foundation failed in some cases to even file the correct paperwork, took donations that it wasn't supposed to take. There was pay-to-play going on within the Clinton State Department. Go after her on that separate issue. Trot her out. make an example of her, humiliate her, and then let her be. No criminal charges, but fines, yes. Do basically what Clapper did to begin with. I think he wanted to prosecute. He knew that there was wrongdoing. He knew that criminal charges under our legal system should have been brought against Hillary Clinton. He was unable to do that because she was a presidential candidate at the time. Now, because he was forced to make that decision before the race was done, he can't really reopen the case for a third time and talk about all the horrible things Clinton did and now go after her. It would be seen by many people. Trump runs the risk, especially media-wise, because he's no friend of the lamestream legacy media. He would run the risk of that same media crucifying him, calling for his impeachment, for going full Latin American tin horn mode and trying to abuse his former political rivals. That's the problem he would run. Unfortunately, most of the Republicans would not defend him in such a situation. His hardened fans would love it. His soft fans would be fine with it. Some of the independents would tolerate it. But unless he was willing to expose the broader criminal network that's involved with the Clinton Foundation and with Hillary, which almost certainly extends to a significant proportion of Republicans in Congress, unless he's willing to crack the entire system wide open, he can't actually do much about it. And if he does crack the system wide open, the same media will then call him Hitler. They'll say that he's trying to purge all of his political rivals, including those within his own party, to solidify power further. It could start a civil war. There's nothing he can do about that. What he should do, though, for politically expedient purposes, is make an example of the Clinton Foundation, which only indirectly would have something to do with Hillary Clinton. Find them into non-existence, shut it down, destroy it. And his hardened fans will see that as the end of the Clintonian era, the fall of the Clinton empire. But Hillary Clinton herself will not be directly implicated, for the most part at least, within such proceedings. That's his way out. He can choose to take it, or he can choose to risk the wrath of millions of his hardened supporters who really want to see Hillary pilloried. They want to see her dragged away in chains. They want to see her dragged off to Gitmo or something like that. That's probably not going to happen. It was never likely to begin with that it was going to happen. The special prosecutor, I was hopeful he would appoint one. But in retrospect, it would be difficult to do that without, again, the New York Times, The Atlantic, MSNBC, CNN rushing to her defense to call Trump once again, he's a bully. He's trying to be an autocrat. He wants to be a dictator. Unfortunately, in this politically charged climate, some people would take that seriously. It could cause very real violence in the streets in some situations. It wouldn't be wise to do so. But it would be also equally unwise to simply let Clinton go without facing any justice. We know that there is wrongdoing in the Clinton Foundation. It's a separate issue. It has nothing to do with the email investigation, or only in a tangential manner. He can pursue that. He can use it as a separate issue to make an example of her. And he doesn't even have to have his name or image associated with the ongoing process. It began before he was the president-elect. It's still ongoing. It involves other parties other than the FBI. It's possible to use that to save his political career from the ruin that would follow if he chooses to completely let her go off the hook, let her continue siphoning money from third world states in exchange for political favors. Because you've got to realize Clinton will never be the president, but she and her husband are still the former president and former first lady. There are calls for Chelsea Clinton to run for the Senate. I think it's a terrible idea, but she probably will, and she'll probably win, let's face it. Unfortunately, we'll have to deal with Chelsea Clinton, probably in the future, trying to be yet again the next Clinton presidency. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't happen. The people hopefully will not vote her into power, but because they reside in such a blue state, it's unfortunately very likely to happen. All those Clinton fans that voted for Hillary during the election will turn around and vote for Chelsea Clinton as sort of a consolation prize. She'll end up, carpet bagged into the Senate. She'll stay there for a number of years, a number of terms, unless she does something terribly wrong. And she'll be just like her mother. She'll cutthroat her way to the top, unfortunately. That's probably what, in another 20 years, we'll probably be seeing another Clinton run. Whether it's successful or not is a totally different issue. I don't think it would be, honestly, thankfully. But yeah, Trump can't necessarily go directly after Clinton. Certainly his advisors have told him it's a bad idea. But he can indirectly completely tarnish her reputation and cripple the Clinton legacy further by using the Clinton Foundation as an example. That would be what I would advise him to do. Now, he can't directly cause anybody to be investigated, but he can allow the green light to continue on an investigation that started before he was the president-elect, that he had nothing to do with starting in the first place. That's about all. Peace out.